I'm a guy that's 26. Each day I build with bricks. I like Star Wars playset. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be giving you my list of top 10 LEGO Star Wars sets that have aged very well. Classic LEGO Star Wars sets have a very special place in our hearts, oftentimes due to nostalgia, but there does still exist those classic sets that have a certain level of staying power. Those sets that LEGO took a swing at and knocked it out of the park right on the first try. The only rule I imposed on myself for this list is that the set must come from the first 10 years of LEGO Star Wars, so it must be from 1999 to 2009, just to maximize the time that these sets had to age, so to speak. Let's go ahead and dive into the list. The first set on the list has to be the original AAT set. If you guys have followed me for any period of time, you know that I revere this set like no other. I do still, at this point, think this is the very best AAT set that LEGO has made, and I think with good reason. I think right off the bat, the scale of it is very good. It is almost perfectly minifig scale, which it's a big deal. It's not a huge deal, but it is a big deal. And looking at some of the AATs that LEGO has released, the Clone Wars one, for example, which was way oversized, and the more modern ones, which I feel are pretty undersized, this one was the correct balance between the two. But let's talk about a little bit of the design of it. I think if you turn this thing around to the back side and you look kind of towards the bottom, it does look a little rough around the edges, totally understandably. I think that's really where it shows that this is one of those very airy. I think that's where it shows that this is one of those very early era LEGO Star Wars sets, like from the first few years of LEGO Star Wars. But if you're looking at it from the front, I think those two printed dishes, those two printed quarter dishes specifically, really do pop out. Those just look awesome. Those are one of the more cool, just unique printed Star Wars pieces I think we've ever gotten. They really help accentuate this set. The guns and the cannons up top all have the right proportions, and I love the fact that they used that engine piece in tan on the sides to represent the bit of detailing there. Altogether, I think this is a fantastic set. Like, this is a set I would display on a shelf today, especially given the fact that LEGO hasn't really made a bunch of AATs, I think, worth displaying over this. I think this set, it does have room for improvement. It's not the perfect set, and if you were going to have an AAT, I'd probably just say go for a mock. But if you're looking for just a LEGO set AAT to display, this would 100% be the way to go for me. On the list is going to be set number 7124, the original Flashspeeder set. What can I say about this set? I will say a bit of this set is aided by the fact that it appears in those original LEGO Star Wars video games. I think that it forever has a permanent spot in my mind because this was something that I believe you could even pilot in the complete saga, if I'm not mistaken. But ignoring my reverence for those LEGO Star Wars video games, I think this set does absolutely stand the test of time on its own. I think if you pull up a photo of what an actual Flashspeeder looks like, I think this is a perfectly acceptable LEGO recreation of it, especially in this early era where, ships that were kind of rounded could look pretty awful when LEGO attempted them. This is one of those ones that I thought was totally passable, and even today could still be looked at as a very nice looking set. I think one of the things that this one has even over the updated version of the Flashspeeder is that it doesn't have that extended area where there's 2 seats in the back, but instead it has the part, or I guess the 2 passengers on the back are just supposed to sit up high. And I don't know, obviously the newer one has that extra functionality, but this one is a little bit more accurate in that regard, and it does still look good. Does it have maybe a few more exposed studs than you would maybe see on a modern LEGO set? Perhaps, but they're still using a lot of like wedge elements and even some of those curved bricks on the sides to smooth out some areas that really, for a set of this era, could have been pretty rough around the edges. So altogether, I think this is a fabulous set. There is something quite quaint and just lovely about the Naboo pilot figure that comes in this, the Royal Guard figure, and that is a cool thing about it as well, but I really do like this set. Number 8 on the list is set number 10123, Cloud City. Now, of all the sets that I'm going to be listing here in this video, I feel that this one maybe shows its age the most. Like, if you look at all the sets, this one I think looks the most like it comes from that older era, whereas some of the other ones you could see maybe being a little bit more modern than they actually are. But I think the idea and execution of the set is just so wonderful that if LEGO released something like this today, maybe with some updated parts, maybe with some slightly updated details, it would be a home run of a set, so to speak. I just love that, you know, this was the first representation we ever got of Cloud City in LEGO, and they just killed it. Like, straight up, they just killed it. There's these like 4 modular sections that you can kind of take apart and have them basically exist as just their own entities. You got, you know, the carbon freezing chamber area. You have the room where there's the table and the 2 chairs where Vader's serving dinner. And then you also have the area, you know, where Darth Vader gives his "I am your father" speech. And then outside you have this giant platform that you could use to, in combination with the original Slave 1 set, as well as the original Falcon, if you maybe even extended it a little bit. There's just so many awesome things about this set. Like, if you look at this in the context of the time frame it was in, I think this is like the perfect LEGO set. You get a vast array of unique minifigures, ones that are very expensive to this day. You get these 4 modular rooms that you can kind of take apart and maybe even organize them however you want to get the perfect configuration that you like for this set. And 3, it is expandable, right? You can obviously use those other sets, the vehicles, even the Cloud City car, right? Park that right set outside on that platform and just get so much playability out of this set. So even though, like I said, this set shows its age a little bit more than some of the other sets on the list, I think it's definitely worthy of being on this list, because even today, like, if you sat this set in front of me, I could have a lot of fun with it. Number 7 on the list is going to be set number 7259. This is the original ARC 170 from the 2005 episode 3 wave of sets. And just looking at this set right now, this is a really good looking set. Like, this is a really good looking set. I love those like bionicle wheel pieces they're using for the engines with those custom prints in there. Those look really nice, along with the like older classic space wheels in white to represent the part of the engines that go around them. The 3 air spaces you had on the inside for the minifigures were some of the most fun I had with minifigures back when I was a kid. Like, you can really load this thing up. But I know that's not like a feature of the set, so to speak. They literally just built it the way it's supposed to be in canon. But it just makes for a fun LEGO set. I really enjoyed the mechanism for the wings. Now, this wasn't the first time they did this. I think the first time they used a wing mechanism like this would have been in like the Dagobah X-Wing set. However, they added something to it. You can use the mechanism on the back and basically pull like the gear on it, and then it would deploy bombs from the bottom, which as a kid, I just thought was next level. Like, I can't tell you how much fun I had with that feature as a kid. So I think this set passes all the tests, right? It is a gorgeous looking set. Like, I think, you know, if you gave a kid this today and said, hey, this is your LEGO ARC 170, they wouldn't be like, oh, like, this looks weird. This doesn't look as nice as modern LEGO sets. Like, no, this looks good enough, I think, to fit in with some modern LEGO sets, give or take a few pieces. And 2, I think the functionality of it is just incredible. You know, it has that wing mechanism on the back, and it also has the bomb mechanism, and you have space for 3 figures and an astromech droid. I could just go down the list and name all the awesome things about this set, but one thing I do know for sure, even in 2021, this is a great set. Number 6 on the list is set number 7256. This was the Jedi Interceptor and Vulture Droid set from the 2005 episode 3 wave. I don't want to focus too much on the Vulture Droid. It is a nice Vulture Droid, and I think that it definitely could be talked about in this regard, but I think the main focus for this set being on this specific place on this list has to be for the Jedi Interceptor. This was the original LEGO Jedi Interceptor, and just looking at it, you can see that LEGO has used this general design philosophy ever since they first dropped this set, which I think says a lot about just how much they knocked the set out of the park. Like, if you look at this set, if you look at the shape of it, the composition of the main parts, whether it be that cockpit piece, the wing flaps, that 4x4 dish that sits in front of it, Like, all those things are still present on modern Jedi Interceptors that LEGO makes, and I think that shows you that they come up with a design that just resonates with people and has staying power. So right off the bat, I think that's one of the biggest reasons this set is on this list. But other than the fact that, you know, LEGO has just used this design constantly even since they've released this set, it's just a good looking set. Like, this is just a very good looking Jedi Interceptor. I think that, you know, at a glance, if you line this up with, you know, Anakin's Jedi Interceptor that came out in the 2020 wave, like, you might have to look a little bit harder than you think you would to determine which one was which. Like, that's just how much this design was just great from the get-go, and that LEGO didn't really have to change much about it. I don't know really what else to say about the set other than that it looks great, and I think if I was like forced to use this in a mock today, like, I wouldn't be super upset because this thing looks good, and I definitely think it holds its own. All right, now number 5 on this list is one that most people who know me decently well probably could have guessed was going to make it on this list, but it's set number 7163, the original Republic Gunship set. Now, I'm going to try to be somewhat objective with my analysis of this set, because this is like one of my favorite LEGO sets of all time. This is the set during my childhood that I just was crazy about. Like, I love this thing so much. Never owned it as a child, but I always wanted to get my hands on it. So I was super happy when I was eventually able to get my hands on it as an adult. And I have to say, like, given what some of the LEGO Star Wars sets looked like 1, 2, or 3 years right before this, LEGO nailed this Republic Gunship design. Could it be improved in a lot of ways? Sure. You know, those curved slopes that outline a cockpit, you know, obviously they've replaced those with standard, not curved slopes, and it looks better because of that. And we have, you know, more detail on the door now. We have an actual arch in the archway that's supposed to be here on the Republic Gunship. But if we ignore those details, if we just take this set for the big picture, it is, I would say, a perfect LEGO set. It represents the Republic Gunship just amazingly. Like, it just looks good. It looks like a good Republic gunship. If you look at, you know, the modern Republic gunships, they've changed a little bit, but a lot of the elements in this Republic gunship LEGO has definitely maintained over these years, which, like I mentioned with the Interceptor, is the telltale sign of a design that is truly good and timeless, so to speak. This video isn't necessarily about minifigures, but this set definitely has one of the greatest collection of minifigures ever in a LEGO set. Those 4 Phase 1 clones to help fill out all the spaces on this gunship, I think, are awesome. Of course, those 2 exclusive Super Battle Droids, and I always love that Droideka build. That's definitely my favorite Droideka build that LEGO has done. But yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about this set. I love it. It is, you know, one of my favorite LEGO sets of all time. And I think that, you know, even now looking at it in 2021, which is weird, it's 19 years later, comparing it to 2 newer Republic gunships, this thing definitely can stand the test of time. One of the more shocking things that we can talk about here at LEGO Star Wars in 2021 going into 2022 is the fact that LEGO has only ever released 1 Bounty Hunter Pursuit set. The good news is that the only Bounty Hunter Pursuit set is actually quite good, and if you got it right now, you'd still be pretty happy with it, I think. This set is just awesome on so many levels. I think it is so visually distinct from any other LEGO Star Wars set. 1, given its color palette. 2, given the fact that it's 2 Coruscant speeders. We just don't see Coruscant speeders represented too often in LEGO Star Wars. And 3, I think it just represents a very unique scene in Star Wars in general. So what can I say about this set? I think the Zan speeder is really the star here. Like, yeah, the one that Obi-Wan and Anakin are in looks very good. You know, it looks sleek enough, and it doesn't look outdated in any regard. But that Zan speeder is the one that just, it flows so well together. It represents the actual speeder extremely well. Like, it's kind of surprisingly accurate, looking at some of those custom printed wedge bricks on the front, the wedge slopes on the front, as well as that custom printed windscreen. Like, LEGO really went all out with this set. And once again, like, if you're using this time period for a reference, if you're using what some of the sets, you know, right before this, 1 or 2 years before this looked like, you can see LEGO made some considerable design quality leaps in the 2002 episode 2 wave, and I think this set is one of those ones that just shines in that regard. Number 3 on the list is going to be set number 4483. This is the AT80 Walker from 2003. Now look, if this video came out like, what, say 2 years ago, I would tell you that this is definitively my favorite Lego AT80 without a doubt. Given the fact that we've since then gotten 2 AT80s that are better than this, it's kind of unfortunate timing for this video, but I don't want that to underscore just how awesome this AT80 is. This was the first AT80 that Lego released as like a playset, and this thing just looks awesome. I think if Lego released an AT80 that looked exactly like this nowadays, no one would complain about it as a playset. Like, it is just that awesome looking of a playset. This was really the only AT80 that I saw, up until, the 2 more recent ones that I thought was actually worth building and having in my collection, even though it's from so many years ago. Like, this thing has just aged so well in my opinion. And even if you compare it to the most recent system scale AT80, obviously there's no comparing this thing with the UCS one, but if you compare it with the most recent system scale AT80, I don't think that you're going to be like, oh man, like this thing is just awful compared to it. Yeah, the new one does shine in a lot of regards, and it's just more modern. It just is smoother around the edges, so to speak. But this AT80 right here, man, this is the one I fell in love with as a kid, and I'm gonna be honest, like I'm still in love with it as an adult. It just looks that good. Set number 2 on the list is set number 10030. This is the original USS Star Destroyer set. Now, once again, if I made this video like over 2 years ago, I would have told you this is my favorite Lego Star Wars set of all time. The only thing unfortunate for this set is the newer Star Destroyer has definitely taken its place as my favorite Lego Star Wars set. But don't think that this one is a slouch, because it is not. This is just one of those Lego Star Wars sets that I feel it's like a cornerstone Lego Star Wars set for a set that came out so long ago. Like, this set is just incredible. Like, it has just such a presence to it that is really unlike any other Lego Star Wars set other than, the other USS Star Destroyer that they made. This set came out in 2002, which is really crazy to think about, because this was like, that same year that my other favorite set, that Republic Gunship, came out. And Lego just knocked it out of the park with this one. And, this was a considerable risk, right? Like, Lego hadn't made a set this big ever before they tried this out. So, this was something that I'm sure they were quite unsure about. Would people actually want to own a Lego Star Wars set that is just this massive and takes up this much space? And obviously it was a complete success. Maybe even not so much when it first came out. Like, I think people were still having a hard time selling themselves on a $300 Lego set, but we could see with the aftermarket just how heavily sought after this set became. People spending thousands of dollars to get the set in new condition. And I think that just goes to show you, when a set, decades after it's been released, can still command that type of price, like, multiple, like, thousands of dollars. I think that is just a telltale sign of a set that is really not hampered by the time era it was made. Yeah, there's going to be those sets that people will buy for nostalgia, but I mean, people aren't spending this much money over nostalgia. People were spending this much money for this specific set that long after it was released because it still looked that good. All right, finally, number 1 on the list is set number 10188, the Death Star. This set, in no uncertain terms, just might be like the perfect Lego Star Wars set. It's not my favorite Lego Star Wars set by any means, but I think it is just a perfect Lego Star Wars set. The fact that you have this spherical build, that already just gives you the visuals and is consistent with the iconography of the Death Star, especially with the laser jutting out of it on the side. But it also integrates all these rooms from Star Wars episodes 4 and 6 to just really sell the fact that this is the Death Star. It comes with an insane amount of minifigures. Even for today, that's still just a ridiculous amount of minifigures that this thing comes with. And it's hard to believe that this thing came out back in 2008. But this, I'm sure even still at this point, was the longest running Lego set that sat on shelves. And I think like that clear as day just shows you how awesome the set was and how you know, not hampered by the time period in which it was made that the set was. Lego was able to keep it on shelves for such a long time, and still, you know, have good sales with it. And the set was so awesome that Lego retired it and literally just brought almost exactly the same set back out because it was just that popular, and it was so good they didn't even need to change anything, which is another sign of just how the set has just crazy staying power. I love this set. It is just everything I think a Star Wars fan would want. You can relive so many classic Star Wars moments all in one set, which I think is more than you can say really for any other Lego Star Wars set. Like, no other Lego Star Wars set lets you relive quite this many classic moments as this one does. And I think that this set is well deserving for the #1 spot on this list for sure. And that's going to finish the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out my top 10 list of the Lego Star Wars sets that have aged very well. Let me know in the comment section, how do you feel about this list? Which points do you agree with? Which points do you disagree with? And ultimately, which sets would you add to this list? Which 1999 to 2009 Lego Star Wars sets would you say have aged like fine wine? That's going to finish things up though. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.